Welcome to another episode of Love Living Local 315. We are your hosts, Scott and Kelly Greats, and today we're excited to have a conversation with a lifelong Central New Yorker with an entrepreneurial spirit running through his veins. His name is Anthony Gifune, and he has transformed his family's legacy at Rome General Lumber into a constellation of successful local businesses, from overcoming personal challenges to building Bain's Barbell Club, A&J Dumpster Rentals, and Lou's Bargain Outlet. Anthony embodies the resilience and community commitment that defines our region. And today, we're honored to speak with the man whose business savvy is matched only by his dedication to creating opportunities for fellow Central New Yorkers. This is a raw, real, authentic conversation, and we're excited to bring it to you right now on Love Living Local 315. All right, Anthony, you're a lifelong Central New Yorker, deep family roots, multiple businesses. Talk a little bit about what this region means to you.
I was born and raised here. I've lived here 32 years. I've never lived anywhere else. I've lived in South Carolina for like 3 or 4 months, but this is home to me. We have a business here. My family started a business here 80 years ago.
That's awesome.
So it's basically just it just feels like home. I love all the people here. I never could see myself really living anywhere else. I do love Florida, but I love it for like 4 weeks. You know, I've never been there in the summertime.
We would like it for 4 months.
I go
like the
for
last
1 month.
4 months.
I go for 1 month, and it's like I go for the month of February when it's horrible here, and I love it there. But this is, I can never leave. I don't know how people just pick up and leave like their families and stuff. I mean, if you're cool with that, then that's fine. But I don't know. I have a close family. We're all real close, and this is just home to me. You know what I mean? So
80 years. That means who started the business?
My great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather.
Yeah, he started as a glass company. They used to do like storefronts, glass storefronts, and people used to go into they were at a different location, and they were still in Rome. But people used to come in there and say, "Do you have lumber?" And he would be like, "No." So he started to buy lumber, and it turned into a lumber company that, at one time employed like 40 people, 35, 40 people at one time. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and now we have like 12 to 14 employees usually, some full-time, some part-time.
More efficient.
Well, yeah. So that was the other thing. It was like when I kind of went inside and was the manager, I wanted to just increase the sales and hire more people and do more commercial jobs and stuff like that. And I did. We increased our sales like almost $1 million in 1 year, and we lost money.
Diminishing returns.
You get lost in the I'll bid anything. I don't care how much it costs. I'll bid it. So, anyways, I did that, and we lost money. So now we're doing almost $1 million less a year, making money. Yeah. Just being more efficient, focusing on profit. Before I was just bidding anything to get it.
Top line revenue.
Yeah. So, most people know as your volume goes up, your profit margin goes down, your expenses go up. Mm-hmm. So if you can increase your profit and lower your expenses, that's usually the sweet spot. You just got to find the sweet spot. That's really all.
It's funny you say that. I talk a lot about that in my industry, that, the comparison is the thief of joy. And so many of us compare ourselves to other business owners and what they're doing in the same space. And I talk a lot about the sweet spot, where you just have to put your ego aside and be comfortable doing less production, but making more money.
Right. Which, who wouldn't want to? Yeah, you're doing more. If you can make money doing less, then you could do more things. You know what I mean? And have more streams of revenue that way. You know what I mean? So that's the way we look at it. At first, I was like, no, I want to, have multiple stores and all this, which, a lot of those people who do that get lucky. You roll the dice, and they're willing to take everything they have and just keep rolling the dice. And some of them get lucky, and some of them go out of business. You know what I mean? So that's the biggest thing. If you're willing to roll the dice, I've always been a gambler, so my dad is the one who keeps me like a little grounded. Like, okay, let's not go crazy. You know what I mean? So for me, that's the biggest thing.
So how challenging is that? Like your dad. You took the business over from your father?
No, he still runs it. I work for him. He took it over from my grandfather. My grandfather took it over from my great-grandfather.
All right.
My dad's still there every day. He's 60 years. He'll be 60 in June. Easy. I don't know. a lot of my friends who work for their dads are always like, how do you, how is it, it sucks for them. I never like really had an argument with them. Like we have like one argument every like
that's awesome
couple years, and it's usually a blowout. It's bad. And then like we, the last one we didn't talk for like 5 days, and then I was like, yeah, this is stupid. I just acted like nothing ever happened because it's your dad. You know what I mean? So it's he lets me do my own thing. And it's me and my brother. So he lets us kind of do our own thing, and we don't. He could know we're making a mistake, and he doesn't like micromanage. He's not a micromanager, So he kind of just lets us do our own thing if he thinks it's going to work. Which, I mean, not to toot my own horn, most of the time it works. He's old school, I'm new school when it comes to like social media stuff like that. Our Facebook has like almost 10,000 followers from my brother, and then I built our Instagram a year ago, and that's growing. So he doesn't get that stuff. But he sees it obviously works because that's the only place we advertise.
That's it.
Is on social media.
Yeah, commercials and all that.
I don't
other
do
stuff,
commercials.
that's not,
I don't do news. I don't do none of that nonsense.
It's not relevant anymore.
No.
And that's so important that some of these mom and pop businesses that don't have the next generation showing interest
they die
in
on
the
that
company,
hill.
they're gone.
Right.
Because you need that nowadays.
You have to grow. Like times change, and you have to change with the times. You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing with any business. You can be stuck in your ways and not remodel your store. And I don't know. It's just you have to change,
So let's stay there because it is a delicate balance, right?
Yeah.
Where 80 years, cornerstone of the community.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure multi-generational customers, they get used to a certain way of doing business, a certain look and feel. And then, so you want to keep up with the times, but you don't want to become Lowe's.
Right.
Or Home Depot,
Right.
or too mainstream where you lose that family feel.
And I think most of our customers come because we are a family business. So years ago, I don't remember exactly when, but right about when I started or a little bit before I started, Home Depot came to Rome, and they lasted 44 months, and then they were out of business. They were the only Home Depot to ever go out of business, was the one in Rome. There was already us, and there was already Lowe's. And they lasted 44 months. And they literally came into our store and handed all of our employees applications, which is illegal. Okay. So when they interviewed my dad afterwards, and my dad is like a real calm, like non-confrontational person, he was like, I'm not sorry to see him go. Yeah. And I don't think he was being like arrogant at all, but he was just like, how are they going to come in here, try to recruit? None of our employees left, by the way, none. And so he wasn't sorry to see them go. I don't think anyone is.
Sure.
This is like a small town, couple towns, Rome, Utica, a couple 100,000 people, 1,000 people between Utica and Rome. So I don't think anyone wants to see that type of stuff. But, Utica is different than Rome too. So Rome people, and I've lived in Rome almost my whole life, is if you have the lowest price, that's where they're going, which we were able to. That's why we opened the Bargain Barn and stuff. And that was, about 30 years ago. We did that. And that was able to get people in the door. And then while they were there, they would buy other stuff. You know what I mean?
So let's talk a little bit about your other ventures that you have. You just mentioned Lou's Bargain Outlet. You've got Bain's Barbell Club.
Yeah.
And A&J Dumpster
You're not excited about that one?
No, I am. That one doesn't make much money. So that's.
But no, there's still it's a venture. So
yeah. So. What do we want to talk about first? The Bargain Barn?
Well, let's talk about the bargain outlet. And one more thing that I wanted to say when you were talking about Lowe's and Home Depot is I've got to say that when you go to a family-run business, the customer service is by far.
That's our number one goal.
I am telling you right now, because me being a woman, not to stereotype, I walk into Lowe's and half of the time I don't know where I need to find something or what I'm even looking for.
Right. Neither do we.
I could walk past 5 employees, and none of them will say to me, "Can I help you?"
Or hi.
Do you need exactly? So I've just got to say, I'm sure.
Have you ever been to Ace Hardware? Have you ever been to Ace Hardware? Like, there's one in Rome. I don't know if there's any other ones.
There used to be one here in Herkimer, and then in
they
Ilion,
have
and
the
then
best
they closed.
customer service.
Yep.
Their customer service is so good, it's almost annoying.
I think Collis and Herkimer, I think is an Ace, but yeah, I'm
the
sure
one
your
in
customer
Rome is
service.
like you walk in and they're like, "Hi, how are you?" They're at the door. They're literally like at the door waiting for you to walk in. And then you walk in and you turn down like the paint aisle and they're like, "Hey, can I help you?"
Yeah, what are you looking for?
And I'm like, "I'm just looking for a roller." they're all right. They're right here. Which one you want? Like, so they'll help you. And then you go to cash out and somebody else will ask you if you need help. It's almost annoying.
Yeah.
But you are never going to find that at any other
at a
box
big
stores.
box store,
No,
for sure.
you're not.
Okay, so now we can talk about Lou's Bargain Outlet. And
Lou's
how they
Bargain
came
Barn.
about.
Well, Bargain Outlet, Bargain Barn. So anyways, my dad opened that originally, I think it was like 1990, which was a spinoff of General Lumber. He's always been fascinated with like the salvage business of the building market. So somebody would discontinue these boards, right? So normally they're $1 a foot. They'll discontinue them. They can't sell them. They'll sell them to you for 10 cents a foot instead of $1. And then we could sell them for 20 cents.
Mm-hmm.
So it started with like molding and doors. And now it's like the biggest part of our business right now is appliances. We buy scratch and dent appliances. So we buy them and sell them for 50 cents on $1 or less. So if you see a fridge at Home Depot and it's $4,000, we usually sell it for anywhere between 15 to 2,000. And it might have a scratch on the side of it, but you have to buy a whole tractor trailer load. You have to pay for it with a credit card in advance and all this stuff. And sometimes you get them in and they're more damaged than other ones. And you got to, they're all in working order, but they have damage on them. So he started doing that, the appliances a couple years ago. But before that, it was always like shingles, doors, windows, like mismeasured windows from companies we would buy. And that really is what people look for,
A good deal.
If you can get a good deal,
For sure.
then why are you not going, why are you not going to take advantage of that? So
10 minutes after you buy something new, it's used.
right. You know that with a car,
Right,
with
yeah.
anything, so you buy a car for 40,000, you drive it off the lot, it's worth 30. So we did that, and that's really just taken over most of our business.
Not to get too personal with finances, but I'm curious, my business mind, are the margins actually better?
Way better.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was
It's
thinking.
usually about 40%.
Yeah, you mentioned the car business, and that's, I don't know if it's widely known, but they don't really make money on new cars.
No, they don't.
They make money on the warranties and the protection plans and the service, and then they want the opportunity to get the lease back or the buyback so they can make money on the used car.
You always make money. Even car salesmen that I talk to, they're like, oh, we'd rather sell used cars.
Of course.
Because they get like, whatever it is, I don't know the exact numbers, but some of them I know get like 25% of the profit of a used car, where they sell a new car and they're like, I make $100 bucks, So with this kind of the bargain barn business is usually the margin is way better. Lumber was always like a downward spiral of profit, because you had places like Lowe's and Home Depot bidding against you who have
volume,
billions of dollars in buying power. So we would try to make 25% on lumber, which is not a lot, when my expenses are 25%.
Right.
So that's enough to just like break even,
Yeah, it's a loss leader.
So if I can make 40% over here and 25% over here, and it equals out to 32.5 or whatever it equals out to, then we can actually make money. Now lumber has creeped its way back up with, I just don't think Lowe's they just don't care. They're just raising the price, and lumber is harder to get and stuff like that. So we're actually able to make a little bit of money on lumber. But why would I, even with doors, sometimes you buy a door for $600 and sell it for $12. You do. You get lucky and sell them like that. A 2x4, you pay $4 and you sell it for $5. Right. So we were almost to the point where we were thinking about not doing the lumber that much longer. We didn't know how much longer it had. So as of like 2 years ago, we were talking about, okay, maybe we got 5 years left of the lumber company and then just doing just the bargain barn. Yeah. And now if I can make money off of it, I'm not going to get rid of it. You know what I mean?
Well, in true entrepreneurial family spirit, right? You guys keep finding kind of offshoot businesses that make sense, right? So the dumpster rentals, right? Huge market for those.
Yeah, I never really knew much about it. So I used to flip houses because I had the lumber company. I was always able to buy houses for a little bit more money, and obviously the material, I got the material at cost. So I was always able to make money that way. And I would always rent dumpsters, and I'm like, man, these guys get this much money just to drive here and leave, So I always thought about it, and it was never anything. And one of my closest friends, Joe, he owns a tow truck company, and he called me like 8 months ago. He's like, "What do you think about like getting in the dumpster rental business?" And I'm like, "Well, how much do we need to start up?" And you got to have a CDL. Although I don't have a CDL yet, so I'm just like, he's like, "There's these trailers that you put on your trucks, and they roll off the dumpsters, and we can get this whole setup. We can buy it used." And I don't like to finance much, so I was like, okay, we'll just go pay cash for it. And most of these guys finance them. And I was able to just keep buying them off of people who financed them and just couldn't make enough money to pay for it, you know? But I looked at it like, okay, I know a lot of people, and so does Joe with the tow truck company, and then me with the lumber company. Anybody who comes into the lumber company who buys a roof or siding is going to need a dumpster. So I started that on my own with him. And my dad's not a real big fan of like other businesses. He's just like, okay, we're just going to focus on general lumber, which I'm 32 years old, so I have all the time in the world to all I do is work or sleep. So
you lift.
I lift. And to me, that's like, I do that, you know, for a couple hours, but like I always said, I break my days up in thirds. I have 14 more days more than anybody else because I have 3 8-hour days in one day. So I have 2 hours to relax and sleep, or 8 hours to relax and sleep, 8 hours to focus on the gym and the dumpsters, and 8 hours to focus on general lumber. Most people think you get 1 day a week or 7 days a week. I get 21, and I work 7 days a week. I don't know. If you're not going to do it, like you're never going to achieve the things that you want to achieve, you know? So I had goals and I have goals, and that's the way I look at it. I remember reading one guy said, I have 14 more days in a week than you do. And he explained it that way. And I was like, okay, get up, focus on general lumber for 8 hours. Leave there, focus on the dumpsters and the gym for 8 hours. Then you have 8 hours to relax. You know, I sleep for 5 and relax for 3. You know, and when I'm relaxing, I'm usually like sending quotes or doing, you know.
Well, if you love it.
But I mean, that's the thing. And then the dumpsters, it really just took off. I didn't think it was going to go the way it did. I was like, okay, a lot of people rent dumpsters. I had to find out what they charge because the pricing structure is like all over the place. What these guys charge, what we charge, what somebody else charges, we're in the middle. I'm not going to be the lowest price, and I'm not going to be the highest price. So I basically just did some research, and I watched YouTube for those 3 hours a night, and I'm like, how do these people make money with these dumpsters? Now we're trying to buy trucks. We're buying more dumpsters. I just got back from Massachusetts. I just bought more dumpsters. So, you know, and really I had General Lumber, and Joe had his network, and I had my network, so we partnered up and did it. I'm not a big fan of partners. I'm not. So partners are for dancing. That's what my dad always told me. So
Dad's not wrong.
No, it sucks, you know, it does. You know, it was just something I wanted to do on my own, me and Joe. I was like, let's do this. And I mean, they're all rented all the time. I have to buy more and more and more, which is fine. And after 6 months, we're making money. Most businesses don't make money for 3 years. Right. So, I mean, it wasn't a huge investment. It wasn't like anything like, it wasn't a couple $100,000. It wasn't that. So we were able to make money and turn them.
For the
so many people
entrepreneurs,
are just so scared to take a chance.
Yeah.
Well, you got to
100%.
have some kind of like risk factor, you know?
Yeah.
You got to be able to just get up and do it. If you fail, then try again.
Well, the other thing you mentioned too, so there's that piece of it, which is take action.
Right.
It seems very elementary, but that's the hardest part for most people.
It is the hardest part.
People will plan for years.
There's so many businesses
to just not do the one thing that takes 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? To just do it.
I've tried to do things that didn't work.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
I've
tried.
But the other thing that I hear when you're talking, which I love, and I try to share this with the kids that I speak to at career days and things, is just replace 1 hour of your TikTok time or Instagram time or Snapchat time with researching something that can actually benefit you.
Yeah.
And when you talk about spending hours on YouTube researching, studying this market, and then you're like, well, it wasn't that hard. Well, it wasn't that hard because you did the work.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
But how many people don't do the work?
Well, that's the thing. And that's the other thing too. Everyone says do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life. I love to make money. So I don't really care if I have to shovel cow manure and it makes me a lot of money, then you'll find a love for it eventually because you're making money. So that's the biggest thing I try to tell people. People come to me for advice all the time, even young kids at the gym and stuff. They're like, you know, how do you do this and how do you do that? And I've started multiple businesses with not a lot of money, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, you know, and they're like, oh, we're thinking about going to college and this and that. And whether you want to go or don't want to go, they're like, one kid really didn't want to go. And I told him, I was like, go to trade school. You know, there's no more trades anymore. There's not people under my age bracket
naming their price.
Right. Eventually, when you're an electrician, you're going to be able to charge $300-$400 an hour when there's no other electricians.
We're close. The average age of an electrician in America is 57.
That's
the average age right now.
So that's just how I feel. I didn't even go to high school. So I didn't go to high school or college. And that's
probably why you're so successful.
I know. And I got kicked out of high school. I was a bad kid. So I got kicked out of high school for just being dumb and doing dumb things. And I tell these kids when they graduate high school, I'm like, go to trade school. Because whether you want to be a plumber or not, you're going to love it when you're the only plumber in central New York making.
Choose your hours, choose your price.
And that's the other thing, working for yourself. Like, I know these people say, I got this great job at wherever. It's got health benefits. It's got this. It's got that. Yeah, well, you still have to ask for time off. If your kid has a dance recital, you still have to ask if you could leave early. I don't have to ask. To me, that's worth less money. My dad always told me, I don't care if you sell hot dogs, work for yourself. Yeah. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be a firefighter. I always thought I was going to be a firefighter. And my dad said, you're really going to ask for time off and you know, get a paycheck to pay for this and pay for that? He's like, it's not enough money. And I was like, I don't care. It's not about the money. Well, guess what? Now it's really about the money, and money doesn't control me, and it doesn't buy happiness. I know people say that, but I'm a lot happier when I have money than when I'm broke. I'll tell you that. Unfortunately,
you know, there's financial freedom, and then there's time freedom, and the two kind of do go hand in hand.
Yeah, if you have money, you can.
Right. And you can buy back your time, you know, and there is something to be said, and this isn't a knock on anyone that has a job. Right?
No,
it's better than not having a job.
Right.
But, and you know, the dichotomy of this is you employ people, I employ people.
Right.
So as a leader, you got to be careful with your messaging, because it's like, you don't want to have a job because then you're never truly free. Right. But it's like, well, if I don't have people working for me, then I'm not truly free either. So we need people who are going to show up to work.
Right, you know.
Yeah.
If you treat them right, that's the biggest thing too. I see some people I know very well who pay their employees great money, but they don't treat them right. And they never have employees. They're always looking to hire. So that's the other thing too, is, you know, just, you got to look at them like, my employees are all my family. They're like, there's nobody there that hasn't been with me for like 10 years. Yeah, every single one volumes. Of them. Yeah. So, and I'm sure that some of them could leave and go make more money.
100%.
But they know if they say, you know, hey, do you care if I leave early? I'm like, go. You don't just tell me. You don't even have to ask. You know, they do. Sometimes, you know, the other day we were really, really busy and somebody asked to leave early for no reason. They just wanted to leave early, and I was like, well, we're kind of busy, so no. But I've never really ever said no. Okay. You know, and neither is my dad's my dad's super, super lenient and super easygoing. You know, if they got to take 3 weeks off, take 3 weeks off. We'll figure it out. I'll go cover their whatever they do, you know, whether it's a delivery driver or somebody who unloads trucks, you know. We all just step up, and that's part of a family business, I think, that you're not going to get anywhere else.
It's the most important part. It's the hardest part. You know, trying to recruit, hire, train, consistently motivate, you know, so if you have a good core group, keep them.
Right.
You know,
do whatever you can to keep them.
And then, you know, people notice that. And even you just saying this, people are probably sending their resume into you right now, right? Like, I want to take 3 weeks off without
you got to earn that. You got to earn that. At first, I'm going to be a little, because we could wean them out. You know, the last people I've had that either quit or got fired were all under 1 year employees. Yeah. You know, it's the guys that have been there. And we had a guy there for 63 years. He worked with all 4 generations. My great-grandpa, my grandpa, my dad, and me. And he was like forced to retire because he couldn't do anything anymore. He was like 85 years old, you know. But my bookkeeper, she's been there 50-something years, you know.
Still writing stuff down by hand, isn't she?
Yep. Balances the checkbook by hand. If we're off by 30 cents, she knows, you know. She's great, you know. She's great. And she's been there 50 years. We have another guy who's been there 45 years, whose dad owned a lumber company, and he quit and came to work for my grandpa. Just crazy. It's just, you know, it's just been there for so long, and it's just crazy how far it's come, you know.
We've talked business. Now let's talk about a hobby that might have turned into a business, right?
That definitely, it's weird how it started. So, and I'll talk about it. I don't really care. I had problems with every gym I ever went to. Being a power lifter is tough because people instantly look at you and think like, oh, he's intimidating, he's mean, when we're really the nicest guys in the world. And we're willing to help anybody. And I've always liked the coaching aspect of like helping guys. I get more joy out of watching my guys compete than I do competing myself. I don't really even care to compete much anymore. So we had gone to a gym. It wasn't working out, so we all left and went to another gym. And this is when they had different owners and stuff. So things were a little bit different than what they are now. I'm sure they're fine now. And they had a separate section for us. And I suggested putting a wall up because they just had a cage, like a metal cage up, right? And I suggested putting a wall up because we could be loud, you know? People are squatting 700-800 pounds, deadlifting, and slamming the weight. Like, it's going to be loud. So basically, it was fine for a year. Everything was great. We had fun. And it was getting a little rowdy in there, you know? And that's just the way it is. It's hard to intermingle those two things, powerlifting with 75-year-old women that want to go walk. Like, it's hard. You can't really do both. You know, you can have a bodybuilding and powerlifting gym, but you can't have like a fitness center and powerlifters intermingling. Eventually, it's gonna make
disrupt one or the other.
Disrupt and those older people and the people who are just there just to go walk and stuff. Those are the ones paying your bills. We're not. There's only 40 of us.
Right.
There's 1,000, 2,000 of them. You know, you have 3,000 members and we take up 1%. I wouldn't cater to us, you know? So.
But now you do.
No, well, that's how it started. So I was like, I'm watching everything go along. And basically we went there to go train one day and they're like, you're too loud. You got to keep it down. And I'm like, okay. So that started. And then I guess we were too loud again. And then we went in there and the cage was locked and we couldn't work out. And I had some of my own equipment in there and other people had their equipment in there and they locked it up. So I was like, yeah, that's not for me. So I just started going on Facebook. I don't have Facebook, but I went on Facebook and started buying equipment. I started bringing it to the lumber company and my dad was just like, what is all this stuff? And I'm like, don't worry, I'll have it out of here. He's like, I don't care. He's like, what is it? I've never seen like monoliths and stuff. And it's a lot of money. It is.
Sure.
I used a lot of money I had put away over the years to buy all this stuff. And one day we just opened, you know, and I didn't say anything to anyone. I just was like, these are for, and I didn't care. I was like, this is how much it is a month. If you think it's too much, don't come. It's private. You have to apply for a membership. I didn't do it to make money. If I wanted to make money, I would open a gym. You know, this isn't a gym, it's a club. So I was like, I want to cater to my guys. I want my guys to have and girls to come and train and not have to worry about, oh my God, am I being too loud? Right. My cousin owns the building and he owns a building and he's like, oh, I got this spot because I was having a tough time finding a spot that's going to take us. We're slamming weights. You got to have concrete floors, all this stuff. I got to have all the rubber mats. He's like, I have the finished basement in my building, taller ceiling, sprinkler system, everything's done. So basically, I was like, I'm not bringing all my equipment down into a basement. Like, this is big equipment. There's equipment that's half the size of this room, you know? Sure. So I have to take everything apart. Well, he gave me the price. I was like, I'll take it. He's like, I'll never raise your rent, and I'll never raise your rent, and you're set for life.
Godfather offer.
Yeah. I was like, well, yeah, it was an offer I couldn't refuse, and he's family to me, so I was like, you know what, let's do it. And there's not a lot of parking down there. It's on Bleecker Street, on the corner of Bleecker and Jenny. It's downstairs underneath the barber shop. At first, that was private. You had to apply for a membership. And then I was like, well, we can open it up, you know. And it's not hard to pay the bills because the bills are not much money. So I only need about 15 members to pay the bills. And I paid cash for all the other stuff, all the stuff. Had to put a bathroom in, had to put up flush toilet, all that stuff in, which was expensive. And then, so we have like 25, 30 members, something like that. And it's enough to pay the bills and that's about it. I don't do it to make money.
Yep.
Then I was like, well, I'm going to open it to the public. Well, then people started coming in, and I didn't know them, and I was like, yeah, we're not doing this. Yeah. If I wanted to open it, and I can open it as a gym, and I can cap it at like 100 members, and I could make money off of it, but I don't do it for the money, you know? I don't do it for the money. Now we run competitions out of there twice a year, and I'm able to make a little bit of money off the competitions, so I just do it for that.
So can people get into the club?
Yeah,
They can.
they can.
You got to be cool.
How do you go about
You
that?
have to know me.
Okay.
If I don't know you, you're not. If I don't know you or somebody there, like you have to know a member
Okay.
or know me.
Okay.
I'm not going to just let anybody in there because
You
you
gotta
get
have
a
somebody
key.
sponsor you.
There's nobody. Right. There's
You need
no
a sponsorship.
There's nobody working there. It runs by itself. You go in, you unlock the door, you turn the lights on, blast the music as loud as I allow you to have it, and you lock the door behind you. You know, and you have to take care of it like it's your own.
Yep.
So. If I don't know you, I'm not.
I'm a big fan of the club. The older I get,
Me too.
The less I want to deal with
Be
the
around
public.
people.
Yeah, we run with a very small circle. We need a small
It
social
happens
club.
as you get older. I noticed because I was always out, you know, and always friends with everybody, and I'm still friends with everybody. I know a lot of people. I know I have a great network, but now it's like people I want to hang out with. There's only like 3 of them.
Yeah.
There used to be 30 of them.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh yeah, let's go out and have a drink or this or that. Now it's just like, yeah, there's like I have like 5 core friends that I hang out with, and that's it.
And that's
There's
one
only
thing.
so much time. I mean,
The forced social situations are so not important anymore.
Right.
Like it's just not.
No, you grow out of it.
You
know?
do.
Once
You're
once I turned 30, and then I was just like, oh, I don't care.
You only have so much
anymore.
time. You
Right.
pick and
I got
choose
a
the
life
people you
to
want to
build.
send them with.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and when I'm doing stuff like that, I look at it like I'm wasting time. You know, I'm wasting time by. I remember I seen a quote. It said, "Getting drunk is borrowing happiness from tomorrow," and I was like, "Wow, it's so true because you really are." You know what I mean? Like, and I love to have a drink with my friends and relax and joke back and forth, but it's like this is so unproductive.
When we
It
were
really
younger, that
is.
used to be your whole
That
weekend.
I
used to be your whole weekend.
Plan my whole week against that.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So now it's like if my friends call me and say, "Hey, I'll stop for 1 or 2," you know, and then I'm like back home and figuring out how to.
It's so hard.
money.
It's the curse of the type A, and you know, even vacations, right? So you talk about being in Florida, like this is something I struggle with.
We struggle with it, yeah.
mightily, right? When we're away and we talk about be where your feet are and be present and you
Put
know,
the phone down.
yeah, put the phone, you know, but at the same time, it's like it's just not how we're wired.
No.
And gosh, it was probably 3 years ago now. We had a little place up at Hinckley, and I decided I was going to do this like 3-week sabbatical where I was
Just shut the
no
phone off and
phone,
go.
no email. I was
Love it.
going to lay in my hammock, and we were going to be on the lake and totally detached.
Factory
Yeah.
reset.
Ask
Anthony,
him how that went.
I made it
Day 3?
like 3 or 4 days, full blown panic attacks, like just anxiety like you couldn't believe because I couldn't handle being
away.
away. You know,
so detached.
And
yeah.
so really we talk a lot now about work-life integration. You know,
Right.
we used to talk balance, but and you alluded to this earlier. You are who you are. Your businesses are who you are.
That's
your
my
friends
baby.
are, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess there needs to be a balance, but really, it's integration. It's why does it have to be separate?
It's hard. When I'm in Florida, I don't mind working because
Right.
I'm working in the sun. So I look at it like that. If I have to answer emails in the morning or I have to take phone calls while I'm at dinner on the beach, it's part of owning a business, you know? Everyone says, "Oh, you own your business. It must be so nice to, you know?" And I'm like, yeah, I work 3 full-time jobs. So I'll answer a text message or a phone call at midnight. It doesn't matter. That's just what you have to do if you want to be successful. Because one day when you're 60, 70, whatever, it's going to, not 70, hopefully, but 50, 60, 70, it's going to pay off to where you can say, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know,
You probably won't be.
You'll never be done.
But at least
I'll
you'll
never
have
retire.
that-
I'll
yeah,
never be done.
it's-
But if you can, I go to Florida for a minimum of 1 month, and I don't take any time off for 11 months. You know, so I just take, and it's not even time off when I'm there because I don't mind working while I'm there.
Well, that's why I tell people steal this line. People are like, "Oh, are you away or are you off?" And I'm like, "No, I just set a new office location."
Right, I love it.
We
Yeah.
set multiple office
It's
locations.
okay. It's totally.
Yeah.
Listen, you have to. There is a balance, okay. But I noticed when I try to integrate too much, like relaxation time. Oh, I'm going to take the weekend off. That's not what I want to be working. You know what I mean? I want to be doing something.
Yeah, you're forcing yourself to do something you really don't want to do.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to. I'll take I'll leave on a Saturday after work because we work Saturdays. and I'll go to like Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, or I'll go to New York City, and I'm back at work Monday. You know, I'll just take this little
mini.
You know, the only time my phone has been on silent is here right now. I'll never turn my phone on do not disturb. You know what I mean? Unless I'm really trying to like focus on something, a quote or something like that.
See that? We changed them.
Yeah.
We got made him turn his phone off.
Yeah. So that and lots of cups of coffee. I probably drink 8 cups of coffee a day, but that's how I run, nicotine and caffeine. It's great, you know, and like I said, that's great. I used to have a lot of issues when I was younger, and now I just can run on nicotine and caffeine. I love it. Makes the world go round, I should say.
Coffee drinkers, I'm telling you, like for me, I am so sensitive to caffeine. Like
Even coffee?
I can't have a cup of coffee after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, or
I have my last one at 10 o'clock.
Like
that is crazy. I went to the joke in my house. I went to 7 Brew. That's all the rave.
We
now.
have one in Rome now.
Oh, I know you do.
Yeah.
So
Can't even pull
the
in
kids
there.
love it.
Crazy.
The kids love 7 Brew. I'm like, I'll
great.
just get an iced coffee. I had no idea it was made with espresso. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah.
I thought I was having a heart attack.
My girlfriend's from
Caffeine
Italy.
nicotine guy.
All they drink is espresso.
Holy cow. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So kudos to you, like the energy drinks and everything.
Oh, yeah, I rip them all. I do. So I start my
think
morning.
the younger generation can handle it better. Like even our son
built
loves
up a
it.
tolerance.
Yeah.
I feel like we're gonna put a disclaimer on this. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Oh, with what? How my
Surgeon General warning.
Oh,
Yeah, go. You
I
started when I
smoke
start my morning.
cigarettes. I have used nicotine pouches. Nicotine for me, like the nicotine pouches, I hate to like tell people to do that.
Right.
But it gives me a lot of focus and energy. You know, nicotine is not that bad for you as people make it out to be. It has to be a Surgeon General warning and all that stuff. It does. But my day usually starts with I drink a cup of coffee when I wake up. I drink a cup of coffee when I get to work. I eat lunch. I drink another cup of coffee. And then I leave work. I drink a cup of coffee when I get home. And then on the way to the gym, I drink an energy drink. And then when I get home, I drink another cup of coffee.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But
So who's your favorite coffee?
You know, that's tough.
Okay,
do you
so
make your
mix it
own?
up?
I make a lot of my own. I drink
Yeah.
Tim Hortons coffee. I love
Okay.
Tim Hortons
Okay.
coffee. My favorite coffee depends, iced or hot.
Yeah, I don't know.
See, and I like them
I don't know
both.
if you had
Scott
to go
can't
to.
drink
You
an
know,
iced coffee.
iced or hot, like iced
There-
coffee,
Iced
dipping,
coffee freaks me
dipping
out.
donuts.
I just-
He's a guy that cannot drink an
feel
iced
like it
coffee.
needs to be hot.
He can't. And then there's certain
Oh,
people that
yeah.
only drink iced. And I like both.
I drink,
like in the
I'll drink
summer,
both. Yeah.
I can drink
Summer,
both
I'll drink
for
iced.
sure.
Winter, I'll drink hot. I mean, I love Dunkin'. You know, I love Dunkin' coffee.
Are you a black coffee drinker?
Just cream, a little bit of cream.
All right.
That's it. No
Okay.
sugar.
Yeah.
Sugar's bad for you.
Yeah,
But
I
not
agree.
17 cups of coffee.
The caffeine's okay, but the sugar's
sugar
bad.
gets
The
you.
sugar's really
Sugar is
bad.
bad.
Caffeine and nicotine is fine. They always say caffeine and nicotine equals protein.
Okay,
So,
there you
The
go. I
opinions
like it.
expressed on this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good for you. Yeah, it helps. It helps a lot. You know, I've had
Everybody needs that thing. That everybody has a vice. Not even that it's a vice, but our guilty pleasure. Like that.
I'm not a heavy smoker, but now that I have the nicotine pouches, I've been a smoker my whole life. And when I got sober, I was like, I'm not giving this up. I need one thing. You know, when I quit drugs, I was like, okay, I just need one thing. Give me one. Let me keep one thing, and it was the cigarettes. I don't know if it's hard for me to let it go because of that.
Well, no, but it is like, so a lot of times we're our own worst critic. We try to be this perfect person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am not going to do anything that's bad for me. I'm not going to, I know this is not, but like, there's no perfect person out there.
No.
So sometimes we got to give ourselves a break. We're human.
Everyone
We're
tries to
human.
be optimal. I just posted a
Yeah.
thing about this. Everyone tries to be optimal, be this perfect person.
Be the best version of yourself.
Try maximizing what you can do is really the question. Like, how much can I work? How much can I, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maximizing your abilities instead of trying to be optimal, trying to get the most out of doing nothing.
Because if
That's
it
what
makes you
optimal is.
miserable,
Right.
like if you're giving up
that
something
just
and it
makes
makes
you
you
lazy.
miserable,
Right.
like that's not good. I
It's-
agree with you.
It's
Okay,
sad,
good.
but
Yeah, listen, I mean, this went in a direction I didn't expect, but and we won't go down too deep here, but when I lost my father a couple years ago, and it really brought to light like what you're talking about, like live your freaking life.
Yeah.
You know, because there's just this suddenness to finality where it's like, that's it.
Yeah, I used
That's
to,
it.
I
It's
used to
over,
be
like-
miserable and work, you know, like would always stress me out. And now I love the stress. It's weird, you know.
It's a mindset thing.
I'm not miserable anymore. Like, you know, and that's the thing. Like, you never know.
Yeah,
You never
never
know.
know.
And
Because Scott is a lot like you in this way, that you feel like you need to be creating or working on something, or you'll go crazy.
Right.
You got it. Yeah.
I feel like
I should probably get to the gym though.
And it used to be like this.
You know him now. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.
I don't think I could even like put the weights on for him.
You can do it.
It used to be like I would be really, really focused, and then I would lose focus, whether it be at the lumber company or anything, the gym or anything. I would just be really, really focused, and then all of a sudden I would get lazy. And now, even the last like year or so, I just been so focused that I don't ever want to lose focus. You know, so and that was a combination of a lot of things. Like I gambled heavy, so it'd be the stress of having to pay for that. You know, I've always had little addiction issues, not little, but major addiction issues. So now I'm like, if I just put all my addiction into whether it's business, making money, and healthy stuff like that, you know, then I'll be successful. You know?
Well, I think it's just knowing yourself, knowing that you have an addictive personality. Scott and
I
I know
have
that
the
we very
most addictive personality.
we have very addictive
100%.
personalities too. We're the first ones to admit it. So it's
Everything I do.
We don't
is
do anything in
full
moderation.
no.
That's our problem.
Yeah, for sure. I don't
We don't spend in moderation. We
Nope.
don't drink in moderation.
We don't eat in
I
moderation.
know. I'm the same way.
But then again, we have those good things too, like your business and your, our kids, and so it is. It's
That's
We're all in
biggest
on the
thing.
kids.
yeah.
You're building a life for your kids.
I am.
Yeah.
We're hoping that they can take care of us.
How old are your kids?
We'll have 2 in college. then the
19,
fall.
Wow.
17,
Yeah.
and 13.
Holy cow, good for you.
Yeah.
And they're all good kids.
They're great kids.
Knock on wood.
They're great kids. Yeah.
That's all that matters. I put my parents through hell. So
Well, and I think hearing you talk and knowing you're 32, you've lived probably multiple lives.
I try to
already.
I think that's why everyone comes to me for advice. And I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm 80.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
You're like in
I've
dog
seen
years.
things. I've done things. I've lived through things. You know, I've been through a lot. You know, been sent away to rehab. I've been arrested. I've been through all that crazy stuff when I was younger, and then I've learned so much stuff from my dad or from my grandpa, and I think it really just built me. You know,
Yeah,
it built me.
100%.
I have so much integrity. My grandpa told me, stand up for what you believe in, no matter what it is. And I started to do that, and it really just made me happier. You know, knowing I have integrity. If I say something, I mean it.
Yeah.
You know, if I give you my word, then it's my word.
As a fellow gambler, I have this concept of house money. Yeah, well, it's not my concept, but just to live life with house money, where you can just let it rip, knowing like you've made those mistakes, you've done certain things, and now you're playing with house money, man. Like, so from 32 on, you get to do this thing the right way,
Right.
Which is awesome.
I learned
And
young.
yeah,
you know.
for sure.
I learned young. I don't want to be an old, bald, 50-year-old rich guy. I want to be. Well, that's why I got a hair transplant. So now
The
I want
bald
to be
is the X
a
factor
50.
there.
I want to be a
You're
50-year-old
gonna have hair.
millionaire with hair. So, but
great.
yeah, I did get the hair transplant. That was the first thing I had to do. So, but I don't know. I just don't want to be like. I was reading a thing the other day, and it said your age group based on the top 1%, like how much your net worth is at your age qualifies you if you're in the top 1%. And I was like, all these guys are in their 50s and 60s. You know, they didn't start till late. Like all these real rich guys didn't start till late. So that's why I just said if I started now, by the time I'm 45, I gotta, I'll be able to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So as long as I don't gamble, and I'm going to Mohegan Sun in 2 weeks. So, but as long as I stay away from the casino that's very close to my house, I'll be fine. Which I haven't been there. So.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I could talk to you forever, but we want to be respectful of your time. Your phone is off, which is probably giving you anxiety.
No.
We've got some rapid fire questions, which I'm sure won't be rapid fire, so we'll do our best.
It's all right.
Okay, morning person or night owl?
Night owl, for sure. I go to bed at 3 a.m.
Holy moly.
and I wake up at 8 a.m.
There you go.
What do you do at from midnight to 3 a.m.? Like, what does that look like?
Mainly just either reading or YouTube. I was reading this book by, I don't know if you know who Ed Milet is.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
I don't know him personally.
The Power of One More.
One more.
I was reading that for a while, and then just a couple pages a night. I read that. That or watching YouTube, not like stupid YouTube either. Like I'm watching how people run dumpster business or
that's
install
cool.
windows. Just want to learn a little bit about everything. But that's my time. Nobody else is up.
Yeah.
You know, and I live alone, so it's
you've
like,
got to relate to that, Scott, because he does the same thing. He gets up
I
at
just
like
do it.
4:30 in the morning because that's the only
get
time
up
our
when you
house
go to
is
bed.
quiet.
right.
Yeah.
But I'm also in bed early.
Yeah.
I'm old. Best business advice you've received?
Have integrity. I think that having integrity in business, your word is everything. People will pay more if they like doing business with you 100%. And you're a good person. Yeah. So I think that my grandpa teaching me that. And knowing how to fix problems. The biggest thing is if there is a problem, fixing the problem first and then finding out why it happened after. Don't point the finger at your employees and say, why did this happen, while a customer's standing there. Yeah. Let's figure out what happened first, and then let's try to fix it. Let's fix it and then try to figure it out afterwards. Cool.
Okay, good food spot to hit in Rome. We need to get better about going out to Rome. I know there's a lot of them.
I don't think there's a lot of them.
Oh, no.
Really?
No. Listen, I live in Rome. I live in Westmoreland.
Okay.
And I went to school in Oriskany, lived in Rome, lived in Utica, now I live back in Westmoreland. Big J's he's a friend of mine, and I'm not just plugging him because he's a friend of mine.
That's okay.
We order from there once a week at the lumber company, and he does like pizza and he does like Riggies. I always order his Riggies because they're phenomenal. And my cousin invented chicken Riggies, so I've been a super, super big judge on chicken Riggies. My cousin's, he passed away, but his weren't that good. But I've always been a judge of how other people's Riggies are.
Right.
His are phenomenal. I finally ordered a pizza from him for the first time in years. Like last week, I think my dad ordered one from him. And I texted him and I was like, dude, this is the best pizza. If you like thin crust, like New York style pizza.
Style.
He's in Marcy too, right?
He's in Marcy too, yeah. He's a super, super good guy. Came a long way too. Real long way.
What's one central New York tradition that you try never to miss?
It used to be the state fair, not anymore. I used to love to go to the state fair when I was a kid. I have to say that was always one because my family always played in the bocce tournament. My stepmom was a real big bocce player, really good bocce player. She always played in that. I'd have to say that. I did go last year, and then I didn't go for like 5 years before that. So I try.
You do work a lot.
I do. So I try that. I have to say that's probably a good one.
Okay, most valuable skill for an entrepreneur today?
Well, first of all, be likable. And make sure people, like I said before with the other question, and like to work with you. Valuable skill, though, knowing how to talk to people, really. I think knowing how to talk to people. There's people, and I'm sure you know because you guys interview people. Some people just don't know. They can't get the words out, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then some people are naturals with talking. Yeah. So,
but even the naturals, they work on it. Even
you can work on it. That's something you can build, right?
Yeah, so they're putting in the work.
The more you do it, the more you'll be better at it. So you can build that skill. You got to be able to sell yourself before you can sell a product.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
100%. I mean, if you can sell yourself and communicate,
they're going to buy from you.
You can do anything.
Right. And communicating with your words, with your body language, with everything, eye contact. Like there's so many people that they don't look you in the eye when they talk to you.
All right, last one. What's next? What's on the horizon for business for you?
Right now, as far as each business, I could say the lumber company. We're just going to keep focusing on what we're doing, more appliances, stuff like that. The dumpster business, we're going to I think we're going to get rid of the trailers and go to a truck system. I'm going to have to get my CDL, all that stuff. And my guys are going to have to get their CDL. We're going to graduate up to that. The gym, we're now throwing 2 competitions a year. We used to just throw one big meet in January, which you have to qualify for. Everything's regulated and stuff. Now we're doing 2. We have 1 in June, 1 in January. So that's really it. I'm focused. I'm dialed in on these 3 things for now. And then I thought about getting back into like the house flipping thing. So we'll see. I'm trying to buy a piece of property right now that I can develop some homes on. So maybe. I don't know yet. All right. I made an offer.
There'll be something.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting.
There will be something.
I'm waiting for my phone. I'm waiting for that phone call to come back today. It's actually a house for me that has property that I'm able to develop attached to it too. So
cool.
We'll see. And that's out here.
All right.
It's out this way.
Been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Super pumped about all you're doing in the community and with the businesses, and look forward to seeing
you
what's
guys
next.
too. You guys are doing great. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.